Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I just kind of wanted to touch base on all of the issues that we have had with breastfeeding. When I got pregnant, and even up until delivery, and even now, my whole goal was to exclusively breastfeed. There's such a stigma around it, around exclusively breastfeeding and how breast is best and all of that, all of that stuff. And I had such high hopes that I would be able to exclusively breastfeed, and not only that, but I thought for sure that I would have such an abundant supply that I was in contact with a local milk bank, inquiring about how to go about donating my extra supply. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and as you can see, I am bottle feeding right now. When Luke was born, my milk supply took a very long time to come in, almost a week. And the second night we were in the hospital, he was quite literally nursed for about 5 hours straight with absolutely nothing coming out. And we ended up having to start supplementing right then. And then when my milk did finally come in about a week later, it just wasn't seeming like it was enough to satisfy him. I went to lactation consultants and doctors and everything that we could do, and yet we just had to keep supplementing because it seemed like he was always hungry. He would, and he still does, he'll nurse for about an hour, and he'll fall asleep, and about 30 minutes later he's waking up because he's hungry again. So we did go to one lactation consultant who checked Luke. He does have a very small lip and tongue tie. The lip tie is a little bit bigger than the tongue tie, but he does have those. And we met with an ENT, a pediatric ears, nose, and throat doctor, who basically examined Luke and said that the tongue and lip ties that he does have are not significant enough to be impacting the way that he's getting milk. So we're kind of back to square one. I did go to the pediatrician because another thing that had been going on, just with the bottle feeding aspect of it, was that when I would feed Luke formula, we started with the Infamil newborn, and he would scream kind of pretty much all day. He would just be crying and appear to be in pain. His when he would try and go to the bathroom, he would grunt and squeeze, and just nothing would come out. And he was just, he was having a hard time with it. So we switched him over to the Zoe formula. And that's kind of when things really went downhill with formula. He started vomiting quite forcefully. He was still screaming and crying in pain. His poops became very thick, almost like dry paper mache or something like that. It was very, very thick, very hard for him to pass. And he would, anytime we would give him a milk-based or soy-based formula, he would vomit. Since then, I went to the pediatrician inquiring about a milk protein allergy, because my husband did have a milk protein allergy when he was a child, and actually drank soy milk up until he was a freshman in college. So we went to the pediatrician. This is a pediatrician that I had never met before, and just was one in the clinic, and he basically told me to stop the supplementation altogether, that Luke was definitely just vomiting because he was eating too much, and all I needed to do was exclusively breastfeed. So that was Friday afternoon. He scheduled a follow-up appointment on Monday to see, if Luke was able to gain weight on breast milk alone. And that weekend, it was just last weekend, was basically the weekend from hell. He basically nursed the entire time. He was always hungry. I did end up supplementing a couple of times with formula because I could literally hear his stomach growling when he was trying to eat. And we went back on Monday, and he had actually lost about half of a pound, a little over half a pound. So the doctor did say, okay, he does have failure to thrive. He cannot sustain himself on breast milk alone, and even though I did supplement a little bit with formula, he lost a significant enough amount of weight that they determined that he does need supplementation. He did send us, the pediatrician sent us over to the ER on Monday, basically Monday morning, and to check his pylorus muscle, which is the muscle that is at the bottom of your stomach that opens to allow food from the stomach into the intestines. Apparently in some babies, that muscle becomes too strong at about 4 to 6 weeks of age, which is kind of right where he was. And it can cause the food to come back up rather than go down. Thankfully, Luke's muscle was normal, and everything looked good there. So the ER doctor kind of inquired a little bit more, and just discovered that yes, Luke does have the milk protein allergy, and told us to switch to an elemental formula. We chose to go with, say hi. We chose to go with Nutramigen from Enfamil for right now. And so far he's been such a different baby. He's eating, he's gaining weight, kind of. He poops several times a day now, which is something that he never did before. And he just overall seems like such a happier baby. He doesn't scream and cry every time we feed him anymore. He does obviously make a little bit of noise. You can hear him kind of talking. But he's just such a different baby. Now, unfortunately, for the breastfeeding aspect of it, I am still trying to breastfeed. We went to a lactation consultant on Wednesday who weighed Luke before I fed him. He then ate for an hour, about 30 minutes on each side, and then we weighed him again. And in that hour, he only transferred about 3/4 of an ounce. It was actually 0.73 ounces. So they said that I definitely have a very low supply. At this point, he should be getting between 2 and 3 ounces. And it should only take him about 30 to 40 minutes to get that. When I pump, I can usually get, I can barely fill the bottom of the little bottle that you pump into. I'm lucky if I get an ounce to an ounce and a half when I pump, and that's combined through the whole entire day. So they recommended that I get domperidone, which is, it increases your prolactin levels. It's banned in the United States, so they would said that I would need to purchase it from Canada and have it shipped in. At this point, I would rather not risk it, taking a medication to increase my supply. So right now, I'm giving him what I can from the breast, and then bottle feeding him the rest. I did get a digital baby scale that's accurate up to 0.5 ounces. so that he can, I can find out exactly how much he's getting every time I feed him, and then supplement the rest. Even doing that, though, he's still only put on a little over 1/4 of an ounce since Monday. So in a week, he's only put on about 1/4 of an ounce. So with my milk issues and Luke's milk issues, we are able to get the formula covered by health insurance. So we're working with the pediatrician right now on getting that called in so that the health insurance company will cover a portion of Luke's formula. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But that's kind of how we sit on breastfeeding right now. I do feel a lot of times like the pediatricians have kind of put me into a bubble as far as formula feeding and kind of not breastfeeding. But at the end of the day, look, he's holding on me. I have to do what's best for my son, and if that means completely cutting him off of breast milk and exclusively formula feeding him, then that's what that means. But I definitely don't feel like anybody should ever make somebody feel guilty for having to formula feed, because they don't know, you don't know people's situations. Like, for me, I do have a low supply, and if it were 100 years ago, there's nothing really that I could do. He would definitely not survive that, because I didn't have really enough to sustain him for his, through it. So, just if you see somebody formula feeding or bottle feeding, even, you don't know what's in that bottle. You don't know the situation behind why the person is bottle feeding and not breastfeeding. And it sucks, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to breastfeed, but situations are different, and I'm doing the very best that I can with what I am dealt. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.